Some of the plants in your garden right now, you'll buy again next spring. Second time paying for the same plant, and the reason is lying on the ground underneath it today. 1 hour with a pair of shears is the whole price of not doing that. The disease that ruined those leaves isn't in your soil or in the air. It's in the leaves, waiting to fall over and winter in your bed. Nothing you sprayed was ever going to reach it. 11 plants, cut them, and next year's problem goes in a bag. Leave them, and you've stored it. One of the 11 isn't carrying a fungus at all. It's carrying something alive inside the leaf, and one is different again. With that one you aren't tidying, you're removing eggs. Skip it, and the plant is dead by June, and you'll blame the winter. One idea makes all 11 of these obvious, and it's the opposite of what tidying sounds like. You are not cleaning the bed, you are taking away next year's starting material. The spores that will infect the plant in June are on this year's leaves right now, in numbers you can't see. Same with insects. 2 of the worst pests in the American border spend the winter on old foliage or in the litter sitting underneath it. So, if the leaf carried the disease, the leaf leaves the garden. Not folded into the bed, not composted. A backyard heap almost never runs hot enough, long enough to kill spores. Bagged and gone. Now the honest part, because most videos give you a date, and a date is wrong. Your deadline is your first hard frost, not the first of the month. Some of these you can do standing there today. Others you'd be robbing if you cut them now, and I'll tell you which as we go. And this list is 11 plants long for a reason. Your ornamental grasses and anything woody, lavender, Russian sage are not on it and do not get touched until spring. Number 11, hollyhock. Start with the one that looks the worst, because it's also the easiest decision you'll make today. My grandmother had hollyhocks against a white garage wall, and I have never once seen a hollyhock since without checking the back of a leaf. Go and do that now. If the underside is covered in little raised rusty orange bumps and the top side looks like somebody went at it with a shotgun, that's hollyhock rust. And by late August, there is barely a hollyhock in America without it. Here's the part that matters. That fungus has nowhere else to go. It gets from this season to the next on the infected leaves and stems and on the fallen ones lying underneath. Take those away, and you've taken away where next June's outbreak comes from. So cut the whole thing off at the soil line and then do the bit most people skip. Rake up every fallen leaf around the base. Those are the worst ones. They came off first because they were infected first. Everything into a bag, into the trash, not the compost pile, and not the brush heap at the back of the yard either, which is the same thing with extra steps. One honest caution, because cutting the stalks alone isn't the whole job. Rust also lives through winter on the low leaves down at the bottom of the plant, the ones that stay green. If you see rusty spots on those, they come off too. Otherwise, you've cleaned the top of the plant and left the source sitting at the bottom of it. Number 10, Shasta daisy. Look at the bottom third of your Shasta daisies rather than the top. You'll usually find the same picture. The flowers were fine, and the lower leaves are covered in dark spots that ran together until whole leaves went black and hung there. That's leaf spot, and Shasta daisies get it nearly every year in a humid summer. Why it comes back with such reliability is the useful part. It comes through the winter in exactly 2 places, the dead leaves on the ground and the plant itself. So half the source is stuff you can pick up and carry away in 5 minutes, and most people never do, because by September the daisy has stopped flowering and stopped being interesting. Cut the clump back to about 6 inches, then get underneath it with your hands or a rake and take out the blackened leaves that already dropped, because a Shasta daisy sheds its sick leaves all summer and they pile up right at the crown. Bag it. And one thing worth noticing while you're down there, if the clump has gone woody and open in the middle, with the stems falling outward, that's why the air stopped moving through it, and stagnant air inside a clump is half of any leaf spot problem. Make a note to split it in spring. The disease and the crowding are the same story, and cutting alone only ever treats one of them. Number 9, columbine. Now one where I'm going to correct something you'll hear everywhere else. Your columbine leaves look like somebody scribbled on them with a white pencil, pale winding tunnels running all over the leaf. That's leaf miner. It's a small fly, and the young feed inside the leaf, in the layer between the top and the bottom, which is why nothing you spray ever reaches them. Here's the correction. You'll read everywhere that cutting the foliage now gets rid of them. It doesn't. By September, the young have already dropped off the leaf and gone into the soil for the winter. Cutting a tunneled leaf in September is shutting the gate after the horse is gone. So why is columbine on this list at all? Because by now, that foliage is finished, tunneled, and doing nothing for the plant, and columbine responds to a hard cut better than almost anything in the border. Take it to a couple of inches. In 2 or 3 weeks in cool September weather, it very often pushes a fresh rosette of clean blue-green leaves that stays neat right through to frost. You go into winter looking at a tidy plant instead of a ruin, and you go into spring with a plant that isn't already carrying a summer's worth of damage. That's the honest reason, and it's reason enough. One thing while you're there, columbine seeds itself around freely, and the seedlings almost never come back looking like the parent. They cross with whatever else is flowering. If you liked what you had this year, that's an argument for cutting before the last pod split rather than after. Quick thing, because a lot of you have been asking where all this is written down. Which plant gets cut, which gets left, and when? That's the kind of thing nobody puts in one place. Mine's in a book, The Low Maintenance Garden Blueprint. What goes where, what to leave alone, and how to set a garden up once so it stops asking you for things. It's at henrysgardensecrets.com. That's the only time I'll bring it up. Number 8. Delphinium. Delphinium is the plant people in this country love and lose, and September is where a lot of that gets decided. I lost 3 in a row before I worked out that it wasn't the winter doing it. By now, the bottom of the stalks has usually gone chalky white, powdery mildew, working its way up from the ground where the air doesn't move. The flowers are long gone, the seed is already scattered, and the whole thing is standing there doing nothing. Cut the stalks down to 2 or 3 inches. You get 2 things out of it, and the second one is the one nobody mentions. First, you take the mildewed tissue out of the garden so there's less of it to start again next spring. Second, and this is the real prize, you're taking away the slug's winter house. A collapsed pile of delphinium stems and leaves sitting over the crown is a slug hotel, and delphinium is the plant slugs go for first. Those new spring shoots are soft, they come up early, and slugs can shred a delphinium down to stubs in 2 nights before you've even seen it. Clear the crown right down to bare soil, and you've cut their numbers before they ever get started. Bag the stems. Don't leave them lying beside the plant, which defeats the entire point. Something I'd like to know while we're halfway down the list. Every gardener has one plant that beats them every single summer, the one that starts out beautiful and is a disgrace by August, year after year, no matter what you do. Tell me in the comments which one yours is, and put your state next to it. Number 7. Black-eyed Susan. This one has a trap in it, and if you get it wrong, you undo something good while trying to do something good. Your black-eyed Susans, especially the common one, the one in half the beds in America, go dark and spotty at the bottom every August. That's actually 2 different diseases running at the same time, and they aren't even the same kind of thing, which is why nothing you spray ever fixes both. Between them, they can turn most of the lower leaves black by September. Both survive the winter in those leaves and in the litter around the base, so carrying that material away genuinely cuts down what's waiting in spring. Now the trap. You've heard correctly that you should leave black-eyed Susan standing for the birds. That's true. The seed heads feed goldfinches and juncos right through winter, and the hollow stems are where small native bees spend it. Both things are true at once, and here's how you do both. Take the leaves, leave the stems, strip the blackened lower foliage off, rake up what's already dropped, and bag it, and leave the standing stems with the seed heads on top exactly where they are. If some have flopped, cut those back to somewhere between 1 and 2 feet, and leave the standing stubs up until they fall apart on their own next summer. That's the height the bees actually use. Leaves out. Structure stays. Number 6. Coral bells. Coral bells are in nearly every American shade bed now, and there's a disease moving through them that most people have never heard the name of. Turn a leaf over. If there are small raised orange or brown bumps on the underside with brown spots showing through on the top, that's coral bells rust. It's been spreading through the nursery trade for years, and it's the reason a heuchera that was beautiful for 3 summers suddenly looks moth-eaten. The important thing about this one is where it hides. Coral bells hold their leaves through winter in a lot of the country, and the rust overwinters on those living leaves as well as on the dead ones. So this isn't a cut-everything job like the hollyhock. It's a sorting job. Go through the plant and take off every leaf showing rust, along with the whole leaf stalk, right back to the crown. Then clear the dead and dying leaves out from underneath. What you leave behind should be clean. Bag all of it. And if a plant is more than half rusted, the honest answer is that you're unlikely to win it back. Take it out. A badly rusted coral bells is a source sitting in the middle of a bed full of plants that catch the same thing, and one plant is cheaper than 5. Worth knowing where it came from, too. This spreads through the nursery trade on plants that look perfectly healthy. Turn the leaves over before you buy. Subscribe if you'd rather have the useful ones than the pretty ones. There's a new one every couple of days, and this is the kind I care about most. An hour of unglamorous work in September that decides what your garden looks like next June. Nobody makes a nice video about bagging leaves. It still works. Number 5. Daylily. Every daylily in the country has those long yellow streaks running down the middle of the leaves by now, browning off from the tip. That's daylily leaf streak, and it lives through the winter on the dead leaves sitting around the base of the clump. Come spring, spores come off that old material and get splashed up onto the new leaves, which is why it arrives on schedule every year and why it looks worse on plants nobody has cleaned up. Here's where I have to be careful because a few weeks ago I told you not to shear a daylily flat, and that still stands. In August, those green leaves are still feeding the crown, and cutting them is a withdrawal. So this is a frost job. Wait until the foliage has gone down after the first hard freeze when the leaves have yellowed and collapsed. Then cut the whole clump to a few inches and rake out everything loose from around the crown. Bag it. Don't compost it, and don't leave it in a heap in the corner of the yard, which is the same as composting it with extra steps. One thing that pays off more than the cutting, if a clump is dense enough that the middle never dries out, it will have this every year. Split it, give it air, and the streak gets noticeably milder. Number 4. Hosta. 2 reasons on the Hosta, and the second one is the one you need to hear, because it changes what you do with the material. The ordinary reason first. Collapsed Hosta leaves lying over the crown all winter hold water against it, and that's an invitation to rot. Slugs also lay eggs and overwinter right in that wet pile, which is why the beautiful new leaves in May come up already full of holes. Clear the crown, and you've taken away both. Now the one that matters. Go and look at your Hosta leaves before you touch them. If you saw brown streaks running between the veins this summer, dark patches that stop dead in straight lines where a vein runs, so the damage looks like it was drawn with a ruler, that is not a fungus. That's foliar nematode, a microscopic worm living inside the leaf. If that's what you've got, this stops being tidying and becomes containment. Every leaf comes off with its stalk and it goes in the trash, not the compost, not the leaf pile. And keep mulch pulled back off the crown, because the litter sitting there is where the population rides out the winter. Timing on Hosta is the same as the daylily. Wait until the leaves yellow and start to go over, usually after the first frost. A green upright Hosta in September is still working. Let it finish. Number 3. Lilies. If you grow lilies and you've been finding your leaves eaten to the stalk by June, this is the 20 minutes that fixes it. The lily leaf beetle is bright scarlet, about a 1/4 inch long, and it's been spreading across the country for 30 years. The grown beetles do damage, and so do the young, and the young ones have a habit nobody forgets once they've seen it. They cover themselves in their own droppings, so what you find under the leaf looks like a slug that fell in something. I turned a leaf over the first time and put it straight back down. Here's the part that puts them on this list. The grown beetles spend the winter in the soil and in the dead stuff on top of it, often right at the base of the lilies they ruined. Cool, damp, shaded, a pile of dead lily stems is exactly what they're looking for. So after the lilies have died back, cut the stems to the ground and clear everything out from around them. Take the mulch back too and turn the top inch of soil over with a hand fork if you had a bad year. All of it in the trash. The adults come out from early spring onward, so anything you remove now is beetles that never make it to your new shoots. This is the cheapest control there is, and it's the only one that works before the damage rather than after it. Number 2, peony. A few weeks ago I told you to keep your hands off the peonies, and I meant it. This is the other half of that sentence. The wait is nearly over. Why the wait? Peonies don't hold next year's flowers on their stems, they bank the fuel underground. Those big green leaves spend all late summer loading sugar into the storage roots, and cutting them in August is taking money out before it's been paid in. But once the foliage yellows and a hard frost has knocked it down, the leaves have finished, and now they're a problem. Look at what's on them. Brown and black blotches, and dried up buds that browned and never opened back in May. That's botrytis, and it sits out the winter on the dead leaves lying across the crown. Those overwintering bodies are what infects the buds you're waiting on next spring. This is the answer to almost every "my peony has buds and they go brown and die" message I get. So after frost, cut every stem right down at ground level. Don't leave stubs. The stubs rot, and they're part of the problem. Rake the crown completely clear. Bag it. Peony debris is the one I would never put on a compost heap under any circumstances. Those overwintering bodies come through a backyard pile in perfectly good health. And if you plan to divide a peony this year, this is step 1 of the same afternoon. Foliage off first, then dig. Number 1, bearded iris. Number 1. And it's the only plant here where this isn't about how anything looks. 2 things live on old iris leaves. One is a fungus iris leaf spot that survives winter on nothing but last year's dead foliage. The other is the iris borer, and it's why this is number 1. The moth lays her eggs in late summer on the old leaves and in the litter sitting around the fat roots at the surface. They sit there all winter. They hatch in early May. The young go into a leaf, tunnel down it, and bore into the thick root underneath. What the borer leaves soft rot finishes, the clump turns to foul-smelling mush, usually in June. Most people blame drainage. After your first hard frost, when the moths have stopped laying, cut the fans down to 6 inches in a shallow peak so water runs off them. Then rake out every scrap around the plant. The eggs are in that litter, not down in the soil. Trash, never compost. Miss the fall, and you still have until growth starts in spring. Miss both and you're farming them. Hollyhock, Shasta daisy, columbine, Delphinium, black-eyed Susan, leaves only, coral bells, Daylily, Hosta, lilies, peony, and the bearded iris. One rule under all of it: if the leaf carried the disease, the leaf leaves the garden. Bagged, not composted, not folded back into the bed. Tell me which one has been beating you every summer and what state you're in.